Honored to be with all you. We're going to start off with a land acknowledgement, and I would like to ask Julia McDougall to come and do that for us.
Okay, Nanaskaman Simanto. Anoski Sagawicha. I just thank the Creator for today, for this beautiful day that we're here at Treaty 8 territory. This, my elders once told me that the treaties were signed just down here by the Snai. And I think it was on August the 4th in 1899. I just want to acknowledge our ancestors that were here before us. And I just want to thank everyone for coming today and bless us all. Hi, hi.
So I just want to say that we're really happy that we came in such a short notice time to have this event. We really want to thank uh, ATC, Métis Local, Nisquam Friendship Center, and I hope I didn't leave out anybody, but just all of us here in this community, we always come together through good times and bad times. And with what happened just recently with the news, we're here again gathered and showing our support for our Indigenous people in Canada. So I want to welcome Lisa Marie Burke. She is going to do a prayer. And once we are done that, somebody will probably come around and smudge you. If you want to put your hand up, we'll smudge because we're still trying to keep the social distancing. Hi, hi.
Just waiting for Polly. Oh. Can't say everybody, Glenite. Thanks for coming to support this cause for our residential school kids and the survivors, and just coming together in unity as one human race. So I'd like to acknowledge Treaty 8 lands that we stand on, home to the Dene, Cree, and Métis people. So I also want to say just a little prayer that Julia Madulo actually taught me. It's Cree. Something that was not ever taught to me was a language. I was always told it was something to be ashamed of and not to admit to it. But things are changing. Our language is coming back and we're becoming stronger and we're resilient and still here. Itawinan, Nananaskam Tanan, Pimatsuin, Hi Hi, and Marsi Cho. So I have these ladies standing out beside me because I've experienced trauma in my life and I stutter and I forget what I'm talking about. So I have to write everything down. Otherwise, a complete scatterbrain. People with trauma, they're wired differently and we need support. So my name's Lisa Marie Burke. My traditional name is Ahasu Esqueo. I'm a descendant of Piasa's band. It was called Wawa Siku Saki Kan, which is known as Lake of the Elk, and is now known as Lac La Biche, Alberta. I'm a descendant of the PSS band, which was Laklabish. I'm also the president of the Nistoyu Friendship Center. Just so you know, this information that I just said was never taught to me. I actually had to go and research it to find out about my real identity and how I became Métis. So what was taught to me was shame. Shame of my Indigenous heritage. I am Métis. My ancestors took Métis script after the Louis Riel Rebellion because of enduring abuses, starvation, discrimination, and for being accused of having part of the rebellion. So it was forced on them because they wanted to live their own lives. One of my ancestors, Patrick Pruden, actually wrote a petition on behalf of PSS Band to the government to take the script because he was married to a First Nation. He was Métis of European descent, and that's how the Métis became a nation in Lac-La-Biche, Alberta. So growing up, I was abused at home because of my dark hair, my dark skin and eyes, to the point I lived in fear. And now I'm a survivor of intergenerational trauma. I went to school at Catholic schools and was also mistreated for being a brown-skinned girl. Let's face it, being a Native kid at a Catholic school was frowned on. I also grew up with many addictions. At one point in my life, I had everyone on my mom's side of the family doing drugs, drinking alcohol. My grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings. I recently found out my grandfather was a residential school survivor. These effects of intergenerational trauma are real. When I found out about the Kamloops residential school children who were killed for being natives of Canada, I knew I had to do something to bring awareness of our issues we are facing today. They say it takes a community to raise a child, yet we are still fighting for basic human rights today. My heartfelt sympathies go to these children who never had a chance at this life. May their spirits be at peace with the Creator. We can all be the change for future generations by instilling pride in our children, by bringing our language back, and by allowing us Native people to practice our ceremonies. It is because of ceremony that I'm on a red road journey, practicing my culture, and I'm on a healing path for my addiction since the age of 25 years old. I'm 45 now. One thing I have learned is that our ancient medicine wheel is inclusive to all human races. The red, yellow, black, and white. We all belong and need each other to heal each other. So please be kind to each other. So if everyone does their part, holding the government, the school systems accountable for these horrific crimes against our children, and acting out on the truth and reconciliation calls, we, as one human race, can make a difference and be the change. In memory of the Kamloops residential school children, the Holy Angels residential school children, Lac-La-Biche Mission school children, the day school children, we all belong and deserve as much respect and honor as our non-Indigenous brothers and sisters. We deserve more love and kindness. And I thank all these children for teaching us the way to truth and reconciliation. Ay Marsi Cho. Judy Punkung from McMurray Métis is the next speaker.
Thank you, Lisa, for that testimony and very, very encouraging words. Tansy, I am pleased to be here today representing the McMurray Métis. The recent news from Kamloops of the unmarked and unknown grave sites of 215 children has revealed the horrific truth behind the residential schools and has shocked the world. As a Métis person, we know that our First Nation cousins were affected the most by this senseless and moronic residential school system. Many Métis elders in Wood Buffalo were sent to residential schools as well. Many refused to discuss their time spent at those residential schools. But the shocking news from Kamloops has awoken our nation and has brought new strength to those brave survivors who have suffered much too long in silence. Just yesterday, Métis elder Laurie Gallagher, a residential school survivor who has never spoke of his time in the school, agreed to appear on Fort McMurray Matters. Laurie's tearful and gut-wrenching interview was a powerful reminder of why we must never forget what happened to young Indigenous children at all the residential schools. If the remains of the 215 children found in Kamloops can give Laurie the power to speak out, it can also be a signal of solidarity for all survivors. Today, I call on Prime Minister Trudeau to put the full capacity of the Government of Canada behind finding all the unmarked graves on all residential schools across this land. When graves like those in Kamloops are discovered, forensic DNA techniques must be used to track down each victim's identity. The remains must be returned to their families or to their to their sacred traditional territory. Thank you. Hi, hi.
Our next speaker is Polly-Ann McBain. Welcome.
Minwaswin, Nasnogama. Welcome, friends and family. I am your sister, your cousin, from the East Coast, the province of New Brunswick, the children of the Dawn, and the people of Wabanaki, the Eastern Door. My mom did not attend residential day school. She attended day residential school on my reserve. They were not allowed to speak the language on the land of the reserve. Nor were they allowed to practice dance in the playground of that church. It still stands in the community today for over 100 years. For 500 years, we've had European contact. For 500 years, we have suffered at the hands of European contact, British contact. Today, it gives me a great pleasure to be here. I am a guest and is very honored to hear all the teachings that I learned from the Cree and the Dene, as well as the Métis. That's such an honor for me. And when I leave here, I will share that. Because as Indigenous people, that's what we do, we share. Today, I'm going to do a mother lullaby for you. This lullaby I encourage you to hold on to yourself and just slowly rock back and forth. You can stand or you can sit. But when you stand, it's powerful because we stand like trees, and that is powerful. I don't need my drum for this. Hey ho, hey, hey ho, hey, hey ho, hey. Hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey. Hey ho, hey, hey ho, hey, hey ho, hey, hey ho, hey. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey. We ask Grandmother Earth, our Mother Earth, to take care of those children that are in her soil. That's why I sang to you today, the Mother Earth lullaby. Bless their souls. Tahoe.
It's okay.
Okay. Si inkare hushid dana Mari Adam fortune the year dana harkwana verni. Radiana ele on verpai do. Si tisabayo sarani bayo. Asuana ele. Could Atosa Turene, Atodaneasti Osha, Tidaneasti. se hesti se kana tässä viikaa. Kulin nani te kana harkana teille kulin näin te tatti. She is a sorry me truth night me. Ei tlaante satani or kamatrani. Koti. Johnson tiu taste. John O'Tihe ei listen henne. Otio e vanagit yon lille. Eero it's me. Fond of luck, night day now, a cousin he did. And anyway, I should have started this prayer in Dana and Stamaros in English. O great spirit, whose voice I hear in the winds, and whose breath gives life to all the world. Hear me, I come before you, one of your children. I am small and weak. I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty and make my eyes ever behold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made, my ears sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise so that I may know the things you have taught my people, the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and rock. I seek strength not to be superior to my brothers and sisters, but to be able to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me ever ready. Come to you with clean hands and straight eyes. So when life fades as a fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. Non se ne rischia, that's a cosa do, non che niente fa, sarà se beiasa, non che niente fa. E i bezzoni, nascete dal ahele. E ti da se cuidare, nasi, e da dai ahele, e fa bezzoni. Junahete Irisequidani Ade Atletitseni Hello. Kuihanuriske. But to get back to residential school, it was a heartbreaking. Yes, my late sister and I were there. I was 8 and she was 9. And they took us away from there. Many times we were hungry. Many times we cried. That was in Fort Chip, but we lived in Fond du Lac. We were in Fort Chip, Alberta. And when you think back, they say you can forgive. Yes, there's a certain amount you can forgive, but you cannot forget. No one in this world, in their right mind, will ever forgive or forget for what us children went through, especially the little ones. You cannot imagine what they had gone through before they died. I have seen little kids sick when I was in residential. I was sick myself. I was born with a defect heart. I was born with malfortune in my blood. And so I was sick a lot until today. But I'm going to make it to 83. I'll be 83 in August. So I keep Marsi Cho. And I tried very hard to understand what others had gone through and others that did not go through. Many of them did not go through. And this is one of my 400 nieces. She was in residential school too, in Fort Chip, younger. And but You know, it's when you sit there and you listen and you look at people and makes you wonder. For these little things you can forgive, but a person will not forgive. And I feel sorry for these people that will not forgive what has gone to them. Only if you speak the truth, then you will know what I'm talking about. It's it's a really, really hard to have to live through this. It's we were hungry. We had a tiny little bowl of porridge for breakfast. For lunch, we had boiled fish, sometimes baked fish. I love fish even today. And they just don't seem to care how we were fed because we were barely fed. I am sure most of these children that are dead are not just in BC. This happened in Fort Chip too. Every residential school across Canada, up in Nunavik, all those places, they're all been affected. And how long is it going to take the government to apologize for what they had done? That's our children. That's our generation. I have a badge here given to me by Premier of the government of Canada in 1990 something. And I have this, it was given to me at a function in Edmonton. So, I mean, hello, that's our treaty rights, not just treaty rights, our children's rights. No child should go hungry. No child should go to bed without being cuddled. No child should be deprived for anything that they deserve to have. They're just little babies. They could be from 1 year old to 14 years old. They're still babies. So it's a big, big thing. Finally, it came out. Finally, we're going to get somewhere. I always said that one day we're going to come across something that all the kids will benefit from what's happening, not just in BC, that's right across Canada. And what do you think the Prime Minister has to say? Hey, Justin, you hear me? If you would have had to eat fish with guts and all, you would never go back to residential school like I have. So put some food on our plate. Put some food on the children's plate, the ones that need it. And I could go on all day here, but they'd probably throw me off the stage. No, I can still laugh about some things because you cannot hold judge forever. You hold a judge forever, it eats away at you. It's not long ago that I started to forgive to some things, but it's hard, very, very hard. You had to be there, like you say, you had to walk a mile in your shoe to be where you had been. They say, you walk a mile in my moccasin, then you'll know what I'm talking about. I grew up with a good family, but they were very strict Catholic. I'm not going to go into religion because I don't have anything to do with it. But
It was, it's good for people to be, to have religion of their own. I don't have anything against it, except that I have dislike to many of them. It's only, as just being a human being that is telling the truth from what I had went through, what my late sister had gone through. And it's, some days I get angry, very angry, but I cannot help it. It's those things that we have to overcome somehow. When I'm in my happy hunting ground, then I guess that's when I'll be happy there in my little log house. I don't have to put up with wood buffalo housing then. Thank you. Mercy. It's got brakes on.
Ladies and gentlemen, our organizer has been held up due to unforeseen circumstances. So if you want to stick around after we're finished here today, she will be coming in. So you will have a chance to meet her as well. So just so you know, we had another speaker planned. If she shows up, we're going to have her in here 100%. But if you want to stick around to meet her afterwards, please do.
All right, let's introduce Robert Harvey. He's from Ontario, and he's going to do a drum for us. A prayer.
Hi, everyone. Miigwech Yahweh Ho. I'd like to thank everybody here, including the Cree, the Dene, Métis, for allowing me to live and learn on their land and to learn from their elders. I am not a residential survivor, but I was abused physically, mentally, sexually in school. So I can relate a little bit, but not to what tragedies were caused upon our elders and our children. So with that, I would like to say Miigwech, and I will sing the bear song.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we finish up here today, we just got word that our speaker is on the way. So we are very excited to have her. In the meantime, Angela Ross, if you could make your way to the stage. And I'm also told Mitch Mercurdy is here. I've had a chance to work with Mitch over the last couple of weeks for the TCOA, and he's here as well. That we could get a drum song out of Mitch as well. I would love to be able to have Mitch come up and sing as well. So we're just waiting on our speaker, and hopefully we can have some other drummers come.
Tante, it's an honor to have been asked to come and speak at this event today. I wish I would have been earlier because I'm really emotional now after listening to the strong Indigenous women who spoke before me. But I guess that kind of sets the tone for the day. 215 children were murdered and buried in a mass grave in an institution that was systematically, in an institution that was systematically devised to rob children from their homes and their families and their cultures. And although today is a humbling day and a consistent reminder that despite what the government says, it was only 25 years ago that the last Indian residential school was closed. And in saying that, the government will still state that this is a part of our history, but in fact, it is not a part of our history. It's a part of the lives that Indigenous people live every day, because the systemic racism is continual. And it happens every day in our government as they pass aside the impact of the Indian Act, the Indian residential school, the colonization and the assimilation tactics that went alongside with it. You know, each and every one of us has trauma in our lives to some degree, and it's all been passed down by the Indian residential school. Whether your parents went to Indian residential school, whether you went to residential school, our communities are impacted, our children are impacted, our grandchildren are impacted. But we as the seventh generation
are on a path to healing, and our resilience is reflected in the faces you see beside you, because we were supposed to be dead, we were supposed to be gone, and we're not. We're an Indigenous, resilient, strong people, and we will continue to grow, and we will continue to thrive, so that all the pain that we've endured in our lives is not in vain. And the lives of the children that were lost in residential school is not in vain. I want to thank everybody here for our non-Indigenous allies and our FNMI brothers and sisters. And I just want to pass the message that although we continue to mourn, and although we continue to hurt, that we use that in a positive way, and we continue to build the resilience so that our children do not have to go through the same suffering as we do. And as we continue to do that, we'll break the cycle of trauma and the cycle of pain through this 7th generation, as the prophecy was told. Thank you. Bye.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mitch Mercredi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mitch Mercredi. I am a member of the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation. I was born and raised in Fort Chippewa. I did not go to residential school, but both my parents are survivors. That they both went to residential school. My mom is Nene, my dad's Cree Métis. Growing up, I didn't learn the drum song. I didn't. My parents rarely talked their language at home, Cree or Dene, because they were kind of taught not to. So I'm still on my journey of looking for traditional. I first picked up the drum when I was 13, when they had the Rediscovery Conference in Fort Chippewa, and since then I've been singing. And I guess it's part of my duty as a dad now to pass this on to my children. We're all powwow dancers. We love it, and then singing as well. So I just like to sing this honor song, and so thank you for everyone coming here today.
Hey everyone, so we're just gonna have a little 5-minute wellness break. Jerry's gonna play a song for us, and if you guys could stay hydrated, there's water over there stacked up. And thanks to Creator for giving us some clouds, and we'll hopefully have our guest speaker here in 5 minutes. Thank you. Hi, hi.
Remember me, remember me, when the sun comes up in the morning sky. There I will be, there I will be, soaring with the eagles so high, feeling free. Remember me, down the road, hand in hand, you and me. Remember me, remember me, when the sun comes up in the morning sky. There I will be, soaring with the eagles so high, feeling free. Remember me, down the road, hand in hand, you and me.
Hey everyone, our guest speaker is here. I just want to say thank you to ATC, McMurray Métis, Nistawi Friendship Center for supporting this cause and for our allies. And I also want to just share the little pre-prayer that I said earlier in closing because I'm so proud of it. The Tawinan, Nananaskam Tanan, Himatsawin, Hi Hi, and Marsi Cho. And I would like to introduce fashion designer, Indigenous entrepreneur, youth role model, Nebia Squayu. She's going to share her story on intergenerational trauma.
Awesome, thank you. Kante everybody, Nippy Spoonitsi Kasin, I'm Squichi Waskaigan, Ochinia. Welcome everybody and thank you. My name is Skylene Gladue, also known as Nippy Squayu, meaning water woman in Cree. This is a name that was gifted to me in the Sweat Lodge ceremony while I attended Palmaker's Lodge when I started my healing journey 7 years ago when I said goodbye to alcohol and cocaine. I just want to thank you all for being here today in honor of those poor innocent children that were found and all the children that attended the residential schools. When I got word of it, it was so triggering and so traumatic that it just opened up a, a big wound again. I am an intergenerational survivor, which means that my father went to residential school as well as my grandma Rose. Lots of people think there's a misconception that residential school was a long time ago and, we should get over it. But its effects are still apparent today. And, the last residential school didn't close its doors until 1996. So, I have friends that attended that school. So it really wasn't that long ago. And the effects of the residential schools still run rampant in our communities today. We have addictions, we have abuse, we have our missing and murdered Indigenous women. There's so many obstacles that we face today that are still stemming from those residential schools. Growing up, I grew up in a very abusive household, and that's because my father went to residential school, and he didn't get that option or that luxury to heal. He came from a different time where healing wasn't possible. It wasn't, not maybe it wasn't possible, but it wasn't so readily available as it is today. And to admit that you needed the healing was seen as a sign of weakness. And in his society and his community, he couldn't show that weakness. He was a single father. He would have gotten us taken away too. So he really tried to protect us in that way. But because of his unhealed trauma that came out and projected onto my mother and eventually onto us children. My mom left when I was in grade 4 and left us with my father. And my father, threatened us to lie to the courts to stay with him. So we did, and it wasn't long after that the abuse started happening to us. He's very physically, emotionally, spiritually abusive. And because he had his own addictions and, he left us subject and left us prey to predators, these uncles that I had. So I experienced a lot of sexual abuse growing up as well. And this led to my low self worth and lack of confidence. And in my teens, like when I was 14 years old, I started drinking. By the time I was 15, my father passed away early in my 20s, and there was so much stuff I didn't understand. I didn't know why we were getting abused the way we were. I didn't know why my dad was so angry, but so loving at the same time. Like I'm very much a daddy's girl. He loved me so much, but when it was bad, it was really bad. So because he passed away, I was in active addiction when he did so. I never got answers. I never got to ask him questions of why did this abuse happen. And so when the TRC started coming around, the Truth and Reconciliation, uh, they came to Edmonton, and I went there with my grandma, my residential school survivor that's still with me today. And I went there and I learned all about residential schools, and I sat there for hours listening to survivor after survivor and the horrific atrocities that they faced. Growing up, my dad always residential school. He didn't say that. He mentioned a handful of times school. So growing up, I saw what I saw. I learned what I learned from TV, from media and stuff. So to me, boarding school was something luxurious. It was something you flew away to Europe for, and cost money, and it was just so prestigious. I remember going to school and telling my friends, "I can't wait to go to boarding school." My dad went to boarding school as it was something to brag about because I just didn't understand. So I was always there at the TRC. I listened to those survivors, and there was an elder male that came up and he told his story. But when he spoke about it, he called residential school boarding school. And just like that, a light went off in my head. It all made sense. All the abuse, everything that he put us through, he also lived through at the hands of those nuns. My dad had such an anger towards the church and didn't believe in going to that middleman. He always said, "My girl, if you want to pray, pray directly to Creator. He'll hear you. You don't need that middleman." So, I that was the beginning of my healing journey. I turned 30 not too long after, and I walked away from that life of alcohol and drugs. And it was incredible because I went to Poundmaker's Lodge, and that's where I learned culture. That's where I learned our ceremonies, our medicines, our songs. And that's where I found my healing. I needed to understand first to be able to forgive. And once I found that forgiveness, I seek that healing through our traditions. And it is through that traditions that I found that healing. Happen to our people, but we can get through this. In order to heal it, we must feel it. So together we must walk through this pain, clenching onto our ceremonies, clenching onto our traditions, our medicines, supporting one another. This is medicine. I'm surrounded by the cookums and the aunties surrounding me with love. This is good medicine. Us talking, me sharing my story is healing. This is good medicine. We just must keep practicing that good medicine and healing, sharing our stories of resilience. Because you know what? They did try to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. Hi, hi. Thank you.
Again, thank you everybody for coming. We're gonna try to leave on a happy note, and Jerry's gonna get some Métis fiddle music, hopefully the Red River Jig, to end with some happiness, because our dance is healing. No matter what dance your culture is, it's healing. If it brings you love and light, do it. Don't let anybody tell you it's wrong. So anybody who wants to jig, I know the kids had a special request. The girls, the twins, my girls, Heather's girls, just saying, Allison's kids, Eli, whoever you are, come to the dance floor, the skateboard dance floor. So feel free to, leave in a nice, kind way. I hope this event brought some love and light because we all need each other to heal each other. And again, thank you, Nikki, for sharing your story. It's important. All our stories matter. Hi, hi.